Hi, my name is Jose Fonte and I'm listening to Le Bourgeois.
Here's Neymar now, Cavani is there, Balotelli on the turn, quality, Kalufa Cavano, oh what a strike, an absolute beauty for Florian Thauvin. Oh the pass is brilliant for Pepe, and Thauvin.
The Saint-Etienne has surely won it in the 89th minute.
Payet, oh what a goal,
And Kylian Mbappé wraps it up.
Bonjour et bienvenue. Hello and welcome along to the first episode of Le Beau Jeu, the official Ligue 1 podcast. Coming up on this week's pod, we ask who can stop PSG and Kylian Mbappé? Is Mario Balotelli the saviour of Marseille or just a showman who's big on Instagram? Might Pepe and Lille be stalling at the key moment? And will inform Lyon take advantage? It's an action-packed show. We'll be speaking to the Lille defender, Jose Fonte, a little bit later. He's been superb for Lille this season. Now, joining me for this historic inaugural Le Beau Jeu podcast, I have Robbie Thompson, my Australian colleague and friend who is... he's been in France for quite some time. He's a bit of a Paris Saint-Germain specialist. Hello and welcome, Robbie.
Hello, Matt. Yes, 19 years now in France, if everyone can believe that. And all good.
You haven't aged at all. The French food and wine is doing a good job on you. I think, David, I'm not sure I can say the same, although you've been in France for a long time. David Crossan is opposite me. He's one of our main commentators for the Ligue 1 international coverage. David has also been in France for a long time. He's a Newcastle fan from Essex, but we don't hold that against him. Hello, Dave.
Yeah, lots of Newcastle rejects in action over this weekend. Look forward to talking about them later.
I think we all arrived in France at about the same time, didn't we? Dave? 99?
Yeah, 19 years, yeah.
99 for Dave, 2000 for me, 2001 for you.
2002 for me, and I'm Matt
producer,
Spiro, by the way.
Ian Holyman would be 2002 as well, or 3.
We have known each other for a long time. We've known the years in France where Paris Saint-Germain were battling for mid-table positions, battling against relegation with Fabrice Poncrat and
Amara
Diani. These days, we have more talent, I think it's fair to say. We have some sensational players at Paris Saint-Germain. David, we saw PSG romping to victory. Well, they didn't romp to victory this time. They came from behind. They beat Caen, but another win that took them 20 points clear. They're only 17 clear now because Lille... won as well on Sunday. But Dave, it was all about Kylian Mbappé again, wasn't it? Still no Cavani, still no Neymar, but Mbappé to the rescue. 2 more goals, 24 for him this season in 21 games. He's just proving too good at the moment for the rest of Ligue 1.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to commentate that game on Saturday, Matt. And on the excellent Ligue1.com website, one of the things that's good when you are commentating a match is you can see how many times the players have touched the ball. And 40 minutes into that game, I thought Mbappé has been absolutely anonymous. He hasn't touched it at all. Looked on Ligue1.com, he touched it 4 times. After that, he had a couple of chances in the last 5 minutes of the first half. And then he won the game for Paris Saint-Germain. Took on the responsibility from the penalty spot. His first penalty in Ligue 1 football, whether at Monaco or at Paris Saint-Germain, in the absence of Neymar and Cavani. And then a tap-in after Meunier's shot had been blocked on the line. 24 goals. It's outstanding. He is better as a centre-forward than he is when he plays wide.
A fantastic performance again from Kylian. But you say never touched the ball, but that's what costs 160 million euros or 220 million for Neymar. It's players that can win the match, even when they're having an off day. You may not see them. They get forgotten by the opposition. They think, oh, we've got Kylian Mbappé under control, and then just steps up. That's the difference. That's what wins you football matches.
But Robbie, what's interesting, Dave mentioned Mbappé now playing through the middle, and his goal scoring in the last few weeks has been sensational. I mean, he's been pretty consistent all season, but since Cavani and Neymar have been out, he has really stepped up to the plate. And that is begging the question, is that not his best position? And should PSG be building this team around Mbappé rather than Neymar, perhaps?
Well, I think the team is built around Kylian Mbappé with Neymar. He started out as a centre-forward with Monaco, didn't he? Playing alongside Radamel Falcao. I think that is part of Thomas Tuchel's plan. Even when Cavani was available, we saw Cavani and Kylian playing up front together quite a lot. They're similar-ish players, but Kylian Mbappe's pace. The whole thing for Thomas Tuchel is to find the best place for each player, where they can be the most effective. And I think he's decided quite early on that his plan is to have Kylian playing in that number 9 role. Whether Edinson Cavani moves on this summer, whether they play together, whether Cavani ends up playing more on the bench, and you need to play with 3. But Thomas Tuchel changes his formation every match nearly to suit the opposition and to get his best out of the players. So whether you play 1 up front, 2 up front, a line of 3 attackers, always looking for the best place for everyone and how the team can operate at its best. And for Kylian, playing through the middle, that's what the coach likes.
I think that is the major evolution, Rob, under Thomas Tuchel compared to Unai Emery, is that Tuchel is more adaptable as a coach than Emery was, and he's not afraid to play the odd long ball. As long as it's towards Kylian Mbappe, you've got to try and use that pace. You've got to try and get him running in behind. He's not at his best getting the ball static out wide, which was happening too much for me last season under Unai Emery. And when Neymar, Cavani and Mbappe are on the pitch, as Rob says, he's used a lot of formations. But I quite like the one where Neymar's in the 10 role and Cavani and Mbappe are intelligent enough to play up front together and make all the runs. Can you do that in the Champions League? That is the big question. Would they be better in the Champions League just with Neymar and Mbappe? It's possible.
Guys, there's been a bit of Unai Emery bashing in France, I would say, in the last few weeks, which I think it's a bit harsh. I'm going to defend Unai a bit because we come in and we say, look at Paris Saint-Germain, they're winning all their games. Thomas Tuchel is this personable guy, and at the moment, things are going really well. We saw him at the beginning of the season when they won the Champions Trophy. Yeah, he got showered in champagne and he sung his song in front of the players. And you know, he's charmed everybody, something that Unai Emery never did. But let's not forget either. Okay, Unai Emery last season was the Coach of the Year in Ligue 1. Paris Saint-Germain got 93 points. They won every domestic trophy possible. Robbie is making all sorts of signs at me like he doesn't agree. Thomas Tuchel's doing well so far, but listen, if they go and get turned over in the quarterfinals, or heaven forbid for Paris Saint-Germain, they go out to Manchester United on Wednesday, it's all going to change.
Unai Emery tried to come in with his ideas when he first started at Paris Saint-Germain 2 years ago, and it didn't work. There were losses to Toulouse, losses away to Monaco, and basically the players felt that they weren't being given any respect, I think, when Unai Emery arrived. He tried to change the system. He said, look, it doesn't matter who plays. 4 hours before a Champions League match, he pulled out Thiago Silva and put Presnel Kimpembe in place. Well, it was a 4-0 victory over Barcelona. It worked very well at the time. But in terms of just treating all the players the same as just numbers and chess pieces, that takes away it takes away the personality of the player, and it also, above all, the players don't appreciate it. The players like to think, look, you paid 64 million for me, you paid 120 million for me. I know how to play football. You play me, you show me the respect. I need to know that I'm a starting player right from the start, irrespective of whether you want to bring in a young 19-year-old off the bench. Do you see what I mean? It's a mentality thing. It's about respecting their
Bobby, despite his Australian twang, he is a real Parisian. You see him on street corners with his beret and his cigarette and his glass of red wine, or I do quite often. He's also our PSG insider. He's the producer of the excellent weekly programme This Is Paris, that you can watch on beIN Sports or on Paris Saint-Germain's website. But so, you know, while I would say let's respect Robbie's view on Paris Saint-Germain, I just feel everything's going well at the moment, and you know, everybody's jumping on the Thomas Tuchel bandwagon. But I mean, Dave, do you see any? I know Robbie wants to come in again. Do you see any cracks in the armour? I was going to say.
Just very quickly to finish, then Unai Emery was then overturned by the players after that loss to Monaco, and the players said, look, go back, we play 4-3-3, it's what we do. Thiago Motta holding, Verratti, Adrien Rabiot, then the 3 up front, Cavani through the middle, we've got players wide on either side, that's how we play. Thomas Tuchel has come in and basically just won the players over by saying, look, Di Maria, you're back in the side. I need you to play with Cavani, da-da-da-da-da.
Okay, but under Thomas Tuchel, Robbie, Neymar goes back to Brazil early, goes on his Christmas holidays early because he says, well, I've still got a bit of a niggle. He's now got an injury. Where is he? He's in Brazil. Now, I'm not saying that Thomas Tuchel is being overruled or that player power is still present at Paris Saint-Germain, but you know, I just think it's easy to say Emery cowed to the players and Thomas Tuchel is standing up to them. I'm not sure that much has changed. The
idea is getting the best out of them. And if they are happy, then you get the best out of them. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the results
So like a Villefranche, or after 2 days after Neymar's birthday party when it went to extra time, much like the party, if you listen to the rumours.
Well, that's a victory at the end.
Villefranche, a French Cup game. PSG still going strong in the French Cup. We want to just ask David about this upcoming Champions League game, because some people as well, going back to Mbappé, they say, well, hang on, Mbappé 24 goals in Ligue 1, that's easy enough, but to reduce it to Mbappé being a flat track bully is just nonsense, because we've seen him in the World Cup against Argentina, we've seen him at Old Trafford against Manchester United. They're not going to let this slip, are they, Dave?
I don't think they will this time, no, Matt. You say, are there any cracks in the Paris Saint-Germain armour? It's an open secret that they haven't sorted out their midfield, and that's something that's going to have to be addressed in the summer, that the balance isn't quite there, that Dani Alves has played so much in central midfield since the turn of the year. If you're trying to tell me that playing a 35-year-old Dani Alves in central midfield is a Champions League winning move, then I don't agree with you. But I do think that they will manage to hold on to their advantage against Manchester United, even build on it, because as United have to come out and attack, that will leave even more space for the likes of Di Maria and Mbappe to exploit.
And it is very much about the Champions League, really, for Paris Saint-Germain, because I think even the most optimistic Lille supporter would accept they're not going to close a 17-point gap between now and the end of the season. But the battle for Europe is very interesting, because Lille are currently in second place. They've been very much the surprise package. And just to outline the importance of coming second, you get automatic Champions League group stage qualification. If you finish third, you have to go through 2 qualifiers, and it's very difficult. Lyon are currently occupying third position. We'll talk about them in a moment, but I just want to talk about PSG's big rival. We've got a classique coming up in a couple of weeks between PSG and Marseille, and Marseille have got their form back. They had a disastrous run, a run that lasted a couple of months. Rudy Garcia, the coach, was being hounded by the supporters, but it's now 13 points from a possible 15. They were victorious in pretty comprehensive fashion last night against Saint-Etienne. Got 2 early goals and saw the game out 2-0. Marseille move above Saint-Etienne to fourth position. And what everybody is talking about is, of course, the arrival of Mario Balotelli. He scored again yesterday. It's 4 goals in 6 games now for Mario Balotelli at Marseille. And he celebrated it in interesting fashion. He hooked home. It was a scissor kick volley from Florian Thauvin corner. And then he obviously seemed to know that he was going to score, because he ran over, took his phone from a Marseille journalist, and he got filming, and he got it up on Instagram by half time, which was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I've seen players tweet while I've been watching them train, but that's the first time I've ever seen that. So I think the most worried people in France today will be the club media departments at the other clubs, as they're asked, why haven't we come up with a stunt like this that will go around the world? You always expect pyrotechnics with Balotelli, and he provided them again, as he has done ever since he'd gone to the Velodrome. 3 goals in 3 appearances at the Velodrome, the first player to do that since Ibrahima Bakayoko. I think Marseille fans might remember Balotelli a bit more fondly than they do Bakayoko, and if he carries on like that, well, let's hope that he's still an OM player next season, because he's playing with a smile on his face. Having a genuine goal scorer has totally changed Marseille's approach, but it's not the only thing. That Garcia has made a lot of major choices, leaving established, experienced names on the bench, and he's got a great understanding with Florian Thauvin and with Valotelli, who is still the ultimate team man and ideally suited for a 4-4-2 when he's not at all suited to being a lone centre-forward who's got the goal-scoring burden.
Balotelli is an incredible man. How on earth did he get enough network coverage to post a video inside a full stadium? For journalists who go around to stadiums, it's almost impossible to connect to the Wi-Fi in a football stadium. So you can do all the tests, and yes, Wi-Fi is working perfectly. Then in come 40,000 people who all connect. There's no more network.
He's obviously very trusting as well, Rob. I know a lot of footballers wouldn't hand over their personal mobile phone to a club employee. There might be some stuff on other footballers' phones which you really don't want going out.
You probably just bought the mobile phone for that stunt.
I'm going to be a bit of a killjoy here. Listen, I like the celebration. I love Mario Balotelli, and this guy is great for Ligue 1. Okay, Patrick Vieira and Nice fans may have been a bit fed up with him this season because he was pretty hopeless for them, but he's got his mojo back. But I'm gonna be critical, and I'm going to say, listen, 50,000 people paid to turn up to that game and to support Marseille and Mario Balotelli. First goal of the game, Balotelli scores in front of his new adoring public. And, you know, it's for me, it's a bit of a kind of reflection of society today, where you see people going along to football matches, concerts, and they've got their phone out recording. Live for the moment and celebrate your goal with the 50,000 people who are there, rather than the X million that you have following you on Instagram. Is that fair to say that it's a slight lack of respect, I would say, to the supporters?
I agree with you 100% generally, except that this is just it's a stunt, isn't it? It's a thing just to create a bit of buzz, as we say, and I think it works. I thought it was hilarious that he did it. But I agree in terms of these people with their mobile phones. The one thing that gets me is when you see the team bus arrive, and in the old days, you'd have the streets outside the stadium with everyone, all the scarves out, people cheering, the flags waving and cheering, applauding their team bus and abusing the away team bus as it comes up to the stadium. Now, everybody just has their mobile phones. There's hardly any noise, a couple of cheers as the team bus arrives and everyone just filming. So yes, look, I think, but is there not a bit of lack of respect going the other way from all these fans filming, like you say, at concerts and filming matches? As the lights go down towards the end of a match, you can just see all mobile phones filming and streaming matches entirely from people sitting in the stands.
Well, I think we need to think of our target demographic for the podcast. So I think it was a great thing that Mario Balotelli did. And he did involve the fans, actually. He was changing the camera angle so that he could capture the fans' reaction as well. More importantly, is that he scored.
Exactly.
Go back a while, and
exactly.
The Marseille fans weren't even seeing a centre-forward score.
He has changed things, but it's interesting, Dave. It's not just Balotelli's arrival. There's been a whole change in policy, really, from Rudy Garcia. A lot of the fringe players in the first half of the season were fed up because there were senior players like Adil Rami, Luis Gustavo, Kevin Strootman, Dimitri Payet, who just weren't pulling their weight and were underperforming. And what's fascinating is they've struck on this winning formula, a 4-4-2 that's coincided with Balotelli arriving. He's played Balotelli and Germain up top, but it's not just those two, is it? He's got Cheleta Sarr, the Croat, who was all over the place early this season, who's suddenly now got this centre-back pairing with Boubacar Kamara, a superb teenage defender. We've got Sanson Lopez in the midfield. You weren't expecting these guys to start. Rudy Garcia is now saying, listen, they're winning. And, you know, last night we had Gustavo Payet, we had Adil Rami on the bench, Kevin Strootman on the bench. This has been a good move from Rudy Garcia.
Yeah, they're much more mobile now. There was a problem with mobility, with too many old players there. Strootman and Luis Gustavo, I don't really understand why they signed Kevin Strootman, I've got to be honest. Luis Gustavo's so good last season. They didn't need another left-footed player who's neat but not that fast in that position. The defence, I actually thought the defence was going to be sorted out when Rolando came back. I thought Rami and Rolando would just be commanding. Instead, they've looked their age this season. Cheleta Sarr, he arrived almost as overweight as Mario Balotelli was at the start of the season at Nice, but he now looks fit.
Yeah, wow. That is heavy.
Well, they said he was 100 kilos when he came back late for pre-season training, not Cheleta Sarr, Balotelli. And he's already looking a lot fitter, Balotelli, now than when he first turned up in Marseille. The shirt's not looking quite so tight. But they definitely needed this extra mobility. And the player that I really like at Marseille, even though he's completely different to what he was sold as when he moved to Monaco initially as a teenager, is Lucas Ocampos. He's so hard-working. Last night, he led the pressing. Balotelli did a lot of pressing, which you haven't always seen in his career. And then came back to help Sakai all the time at left-back in order to try and nullify Wabi Kazri. Ocampos just runs and runs and runs. He's got Lagnac, as they like to say.
Is he one you're looking to send to Newcastle? Dave's very funny because as soon as there are a couple of stories in the local press, you see Dave on Twitter informing his Newcastle supporter following, saying, this guy's hopeless, Newcastle shouldn't buy him. And more often than not, Dave is right, Newcastle don't listen to him. And,
I got Tovan wrong, though. I'm sure you can dig out a tweet where I said that Tovan was going to do brilliantly in the Premier League. And I think he proved me right, ultimately. I think he was misused when he was at Newcastle. Cabella was useless for Saint-Etienne last night. Another former Newcastle player. Debuchy gave away a penalty. He was actually pretty good at Newcastle.
Gabriel Oberton. They've probably had more misses than hits at Newcastle.
Still playing, Gabriel Oberton.
Yeah, some good.
His 30th birthday
players.
last week.
Just to finish on Marseille, to give a bit of context as well, they're fourth, having beaten Saint-Etienne last night. They finished fourth last season. The stated goal this season was to finish in the top 3. They need to get back into the Champions League. They've got 5 points to make up on Lyon. Now, the difference is that Lyon still have the Coupe de France. They still have the Champions League for the moment. They're playing Barcelona, having drawn 0-0 in the first leg. Marseille only have the league. So, 11 games left for them to try to close a 5-point gap. What do you think? Can they do it?
Well, for me, the thing that so far this season we've seen for Marseille, the thing that's hindered their campaign so far is that it's obviously, and we've said this for years, it's obviously a great place to be when everything is going well. When form is good, the crowd are behind you, everything is rosy, the players perform well, the coaching staff, everyone's happy. As soon as there's a little problem, when the form goes or things start turning wrong, the fans turn against the club because they expect so much, and rightly so. They're a passionate public that deserve to get something from their team. But it's this roller coaster ride that we just see repeated and repeated. This roller coaster ride that we see repeated and repeated throughout a season, which is so frustrating.
Bit of a Groundhog Day.
I usually only go on roller coaster rides once.
And Robbie, surely they'll get turned over at the Parc des Princes. They always get turned over at the Parc des Princes.
Well, Paris are on a good run, but there was Rudy Garcia's first game in charge was a scoreless draw at the Parc des Princes, and if they knuckle down and defend well, they could try and get something. Look, Paris as well as Lyon will have their mind on other things as well, and Marseille. We know that their fans, again, will be looking for something as much as possible from them in that match. Marseille are a team that I think with Balotelli, if everything goes well, with the hard-working Lucas Ocampos, with their youngsters at the back, they will struggle perhaps, I think, a little bit more. But look, Hiroki Sakai...
It's time for Thauvin to turn it on in a really big game as well. Not only
Thauvin was
but
disappointing the last game as well.
In week 36, that's going to be, I think, probably the best atmosphere of the entire season. That's when Olympique de Marseille host Olympique Lyonnais. And that could be a game that decides the top 3 finish, either way.
Now, one of the surprise teams this season are Lille. Lille were very nearly relegated last season. They very nearly went bankrupt following an experiment that went badly wrong with Marcelo Bielsa. And Christophe Galtier's come in, turned it round last season. They just about avoided the drop. They are now second in the standings. They are 5 points ahead of Lyon. But it's just a feeling that they might be running out of gas. They registered back-to-back draws against Montpellier and Strasbourg. They had a home game against Dijon at the weekend, which should have been a home banker. In the end, they just about got over the line. They won 1-0. Thanks to an own goal in the second half. It's a really important win because, of course, it keeps them 5 points clear of Lyon. But the coach, Christophe Galtier, admitted that the first half performance wasn't good enough. Robbie, if you were a Lille supporter, Nicolas Pepe, the star man, hasn't scored in his last 3 games. Would you be a little bit concerned?
If I was a Lille supporter, I would be one of the happiest supporters in France this year after what we went through last year. Everyone seems to have forgotten that there was a huge pitch invasion towards the latter stages of last season, where the fans went on and tried to fight.
11th of March against Montpellier. I was just reading about this last year. Huge pitch invasion, yeah, and the players were
incredible. The players were attacked by the fans. A couple of them pushed over. There was the players reacting badly. Security were overrun. This is a team. They got 38 points last season in the entire season. That normally means relegation. Normally we say 42 points and you can stay up. This was a Lille side, as you said, Matt, that were in just a state of disrepair. Not only the Bielsa, Christophe Galtier was struggling to have his impact as well. What he's done this season with these players, because it's more or less the same players. There have been a few important little touch-ups, but it's remarkable. If I was a Lille fan, more than happy with what I've seen this term.
You'd be a bit less miserable than you are at the moment.
Yes, that's right.
Maybe I'm speaking as a Newcastle fan here, but if 5 points from 3 games is a slump in form, then I'd happily have a slump all season long. Sounds like European qualification to me.
Exactly. What's this thing where suddenly you have to, if you're not winning 9 games out of 10, and you draw with Dijon, who are down the bottom, maybe, Dijon are a team fighting for their survival as well. Dijon are a side that, need to try and turn things around. They're just going to defend. Lille, with these young players up front, Ikone, Pepe, Leao, they are going to be confronted more and more with sides that are playing with two lines of 4 or 9 players behind the ball. It's not that easy.
Plus, it's one of those football cliches that actually means something. If you're not playing that well, just make sure you get something from the game.
Get the result.
So if you can get through your slump and still pick up points, then you've got a much better chance of fulfilling your objectives, which I think should be pretty elevated now.
It's one of those things we hear in France all the time from coaches, and perhaps it's a little too French, is the idea, if you can't win, don't lose. Well, that's what Lille have been doing. And if ever there was the archetypal French coach,
I heard a Frenchman
Galtier
who we work with last week telling me we should go back to 2 points for a win. I think that would be absolutely disastrous for the French game. It took long enough, even with 3 points for a win, for the mentality to change here. We do see a lot more goals in Ligue 1 Conforama than we used to, and it's a far better spectacle for the fans in the stadium and for those of you who watch at home.
Sticking with Lille, I was talking to Christophe Galtier. I was lucky enough to do a long interview with him recently, and he was explaining how he's turned things around. One of the big problems under Marcelo Bielsa was that they didn't have any leaders in the group. They decided they only needed youngsters. So they wanted to build this team, this squad around kids aged from sort of 19 to 23 that can run and run and run. And they just lacked direction, really. And as soon as results started going wrong, they couldn't get that confidence back. And Galtier said one of the things he really wanted in the summer was to bring in some senior figures. Now, he's brought in some senior figures. A few of them haven't had a big impact on the pitch. Loic Remy has weighed in with a couple of goals, but he's not a starting player. Jérémy Pierre back in France hasn't played too much either. But the Fonte brothers, in particular Jose Fonte, have had a huge impact. Jose Fonte has been a rock at the back. It's been a terrific coup for Lille, because after a decade playing in England, Jose Fonte had moved to China. A lot of people thought he was winding down his career, but he came back to Europe at the age of 35. He has been outstanding, and we were able to speak to Jose Fonte this week, who talked to us about Lille's ambitions. They're second, and they have their sights set very much on the Champions League next season.
We want to finish second. Let's not be hypocrite. We want to finish second. We want to go directly to the Champions League, and that's why we work every day. But if it doesn't happen, I mean, we will. The thing is that we will give 120% to finish second, and obviously Lyon has some catch up to do, and in Saint-Etienne and the other teams. But we are focused. We are working very hard to maintain this place and to finish second. That's the truth. What they asked of me was exactly that: to be the leader and to bring some calmness and to bring some experience into the team, so we could navigate, especially this difficult periods, or when you're on a high, to keep your feet on the ground. You know, that's basically what they ask of me: to just be a professional, just be myself. Show the way to the young kids that we have here.
Yeah, it's great to see Jose Fonte enjoying this swan song. He's a bit of an unsung hero, I would say. Southampton fans certainly loved him, and he broke, I think, into the Portugal side in his late 20s. Won the Euros. He was a starting player in the final against France. Kept out Les Bleus as Portugal stunned France in 2016. Featured in the World Cup again, and he's been a real positive, I would say, in terms of an addition to Ligue 1, and he's helping those young players at Lille to channel their energies. And I would guess that Nicolas Pepe is one of the players who has benefited from Jose Fonte's advice. I mentioned 3 games without a goal. He looked disappointed, Pepe, when he was taken off against Dijon, but I think the horse has bolted as far as Newcastle are concerned, I'm afraid, for Nicolas Pepe. And I think even the likes of Arsenal and Tottenham, they're not going to get Nicolas Pepe, because he is going to go. And Christophe Galtier even admitted that Lille are pretty much resigned to selling him, but they're going to expect upwards of 60 million euros for Nicolas Pepe next season. Galtier suggesting that he sees him fitting in at Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich, a club that are looking to replace Ribéry and Robben. How do you rate this player, David Crossan? He's 23 years of age. Pepe, not David Crossan, but Dave's a bit older. How do you rate him?
There are players older than me playing Ligue 1 football, and I can't say the same for you two boys.
Yeah, I think
just thought I'd get that dig in now.
Vitorino Hilton is only about a month younger than me, I think.
Gianluigi Buffon?
He's older than me, and Hilton's older than me.
Yes.
But Pepe, yes. He's going to go far, yeah. He's got great pace, great balance, lovely footwork. Really knows his football, as Christophe Galtier is keen to point out in interviews when he talks about Pepe. He's a football lover. He studies his opponents. He knows where the weaknesses are when he comes up against teams. His stats were really good last season with 13 goals in that struggling team. The Bielsa revolution only lasted one game. I commentated their match against Nantes, and it was like watching the Marseille team when he first came in. They were pressing, they were playing brilliantly, and I thought, wow, they're going to be a team to watch this season. Didn't turn out that way.
Win, wasn't it?
3-0 win in the first match. But Pepe, his goals kept them up last season, and his goals this season, even if 7 out of 16 have come from the penalty spot, have got them into this great position that they're in, where they have to be challenging at least for a top 3 finish. I'd be slightly worried, though, if they did finish third and had to go through the qualifiers. I'm not sure.
Without Pepe, probably.
Yeah.
I think Pepe still has a lot of room for improvement. I think let's not forget that Galtier also brought in someone like Jonathan Bomba, who's only 26 years of age. He's not an old, experienced player, but he did play with him.
You got a problem with age, Robbie.
Bomba's sure?
Much younger. Bomba's much younger.
Are we sure?
Yeah, we're certain.
I go 26.
He's 22.
No.
Jonathan Bomba is 22, born 26th of March, 1996.
Younger than Nicola Pepe.
Yes.
Robbie, get your research done for next week.
He's been around for so long, Jonathan Bomba. He's played seasons at Saint-Etienne with Christophe Galtier.
He was at Angers with Pepe as well.
Problems. Yeah, he was at Angers. Yes, exactly.
He started young, but I mean, they've got they've got this.
It's not only Nicola Pepe.
Absolutely, Jonathan Ikone's been
How old is
superb.
Ikone, Rob?
Jonathan Ikone is 22.
They're all young guns. Nicola Pepe is the standout figure. Dave is quickly checking the age of Ikone.
He's 20, I think.
Nicola Pepe is 23. He's got a very big future. 16 goals and 8 assists so far this season.
Ikone is 20, Matt.
Ikone is 20. Thank you, Dave. I'm trying to introduce our next snippet from Jose Fonte, because Jose Fonte has played with and played against some wonderful footballers in his time, but he is seriously impressed with Nicola Pepe.
I'm going to be very, very direct. He can play anywhere he wants. It's as simple as that. Like you said, I've played against many players. I've played alongside the top players. And his ability and his intelligence and knowledge of the game is second to none. His pace is blistering. His ability on the ball and 1v1 is incredible. He finishes well. He's an intelligent player. His movement is good. And he's still only 23, so I mean he can pick and choose. He can play for any team he wants. It's as simple as that. If he wants to play for Madrid, Barca, Man United, Man City, whoever he chooses, he can do it, and he will do a good job for sure.
Interesting stuff. The whole of that Jose Fonte interview is available for download on our page, Le Bourge page. He was interviewed by our producer, who insists on being called an executive producer. Ian Holyman, who's going to do a fantastic job, I'm sure, for the rest of the season. He's already got Jose Fonte, but we're going to move on now.
6-month contract, Ian Holyman. Will it be renewed?
He's on a performance-related contract. We're going to see if he gets a renewed deal next season. Ian and Bruno Genesio both under pressure at the moment. Bruno Genesio incredibly under pressure, incredibly. I'd say from the outside.
Which is incredible.
For those of you who don't know, Bruno Genesio is the manager of Lyon. He is a Lyon man through and through. He's been coaching the youth team, the reserves. He was promoted to first team coach 2 or 3 seasons ago now. He's doing a solid job, but he just keeps on getting criticised by Lyon fans who feel he should be doing an even better job. And I think it's fair to say that on paper, Lyon have a superb team, and They've shown that this season. They've defeated Manchester City away. They've defeated Lyon. They've just held Barcelona to a 0-0 draw at home. The issue for Lyon this season has been against the lesser teams, the less glamorous sides. They've slipped up. They've lost twice to Nice. They've lost to Reims. They got over one of those hurdles on Sunday, and they did it with quite some brio. They defeated Toulouse by 5-1, but they're still 5 points adrift of Lille. And of course, Lyon want to be finishing in the top 2. And frankly, Dave, this Lyon side, with the quality they have, they should be closer to Paris Saint-Germain.
Of course they should. They have the second best squad in France. There's no question about that. And we've seen players break through to make their international debuts for France this year, like Ferland Mendy and Tanguy Ndombele, two terrific players. But the consistency has not been there. And a lot of the problem has been in these smaller matches. So maybe this is them turning the corner. Looking at it from a statistical viewpoint, last season they had 3 players who were scoring goals for fun. Mariano Diaz, especially at the start of the season, Nabil Fekir and Memphis Depay, especially at the end of the season. This season, they don't have anyone in double figures yet. That Fekir and Moussa Dembele have got 9 each in the league. So for me, that's where the biggest difference has been this season. Last season, we got used to them rolling over teams at times the way they did at Toulouse yesterday. And this season, they've been unable to replicate that.
I think it's been 10 years since you didn't have a player in double figures for scoring at this stage of the season for Lyon. And at the time, I had a look at the stats. It was Fred, Juninho, and another player, I can't remember who it was, who were each on 7 or 8 goals at this stage of the season. But that's going back to 2007, 2008. So there is a goal-scoring problem. Just a side note on Genesio and this identity in these young players coming through. That is something that Lyon do exceptionally well. They even did it when they brought in Hubert Fournier, who was another former player. You have Bernard Lecombe still involved. Gerard Houllier is now an advisor to the president as well. Jean-Michel Aulas, a former coach there as well. They have, and this is something that Aulas has done very well, and perhaps now does too much with his private Twitter account, is this idea of defending the identity of Olympique Lyonnais. They are a club that have an Olympique Lyonnais identity, and it works across every level. Cassapa is on the staff, the coaching staff, as assistant coach with the first team. Chris well is a youth team coach there. And they've just signed a new the LFP.
Gregory Coupé replaced Joel Batts when Batts went off to work with Remy Gard in Canada.
Exactly, that's something very impressive. And when they travel to Manchester City, when they take on Barcelona, when they play Paris, the only team to beat Paris in the league this season, they play on that identity. They are a proud club, and that, yes, they lack a little bit of consistency. Yes, the fans want a big coach because they're frustrated with this quality side that doesn't have consistency at the moment. But that identity is also what allows them to take on those big clubs and do it. And so we don't have an inferiority complex. We are Olympique Lyonnais.
And when you say the only team to beat Paris this season, you're not including Liverpool and Guingamp?
In the league, I did say.
In the league. No, I don't think you said. We'll listen back to that.
Okay.
I just want to be
go back 10 seconds. I'm pretty sure I said in the league.
As complete as possible. You talked, Robbie, about the guys not yet being in double figures for goals, but they're getting there, aren't they? Because they put 5 past Toulouse. I think Moussa Dembele now has 9. Nabil Fekir has 9. Nabil Fekir.
Okay.
If I could just say something.
If I can just finish my sentence. Yes, go.
Yeah, I'll just finish my sentence about Nabil Fekir, because I don't want to wind up Liverpool supporters. That's certainly not what I'm looking to do. But when I see Liverpool stuttering at the moment, I know I'm moving off the subject a bit, but Liverpool's problem this season, I think, is they've got 3 brilliant attackers, but they have nobody to replace either Firmino, Mane, or Salah, to rotate. And I think they're exhausted. And I think if they had signed Nabil Fekir, which they wanted to do last summer, they pulled out of it because they were trying to haggle over the price, suggesting that Nabil Fekir's knee was not in a great state. I think Liverpool would be top of the league and going on to win the Premier League. Nabil Fekir, bringing the conversation back to France, had a difficult start to this season, and I think he was unsettled by the whole Liverpool stop-start transfer move.
And he won the World Cup.
Well, what a football player. I mean, I commentated the game yesterday against Toulouse, and the penalty he won, juggling past a couple of Toulouse defenders, drawing the foul from Yannick Cahuzac, who just can't resist.
But wasn't it that foul, and just that's throwback foul of the week, surely, if this should be a new section, just a clattering challenge. He did a full 360 in the air, Nabil Fekir, and it wasn't particularly nasty. It wasn't going in to break the leg. He slipped. It was just good old-fashioned bang. Over you go.
He is an old-fashioned footballer, isn't he? He used to be the captain of Bastia, this old warhorse, Yannick Cahuzac. He's been sent off more than any other player in Ligue 1, I believe. But
11 red cards since 2012, 2013, Matt.
Thank you,
a bonus prize if you guess who's second on the list in that time.
For red cards?
Yeah, I'll give you a clue. He plays for Nantes.
For Nantes?
At the back.
Papi Djilibodji.
Palois?
Palois, yeah.
Palois.
Daniel Congre third. Palois 6 red cards, Congre 5, but Kauzak 11 since 2012, 2013.
He's putting
I'd like to
himself
thank David
forward
Wall
for
that
becoming
stat, actually.
the
It's not
official podcast stato. He's got
the
glasses. He's got the look, perhaps. Is that harsh, Dave?
That's pretty harsh, yeah. Is it just because I said there were no players older than you in Ligue 1?
It's fantastic for Kauzak to be known as for something else because it's a famous name in Bastia as well. The main stand at
Wait, it was his dad.
Furiani was a grandfather.
Glory days.
Grandfather.
Yeah, the Kauzak family.
But by the way, Kauzak, he looked absolutely gutted at getting sent off. I think it was a fair enough call from the referee. That was his first red card for 2 years, and I think he's been really trying to clean up his act. But Toulouse, for all Lyon's good attacking football, Toulouse were dreadful yesterday, absolutely dreadful. And I think it's 8 games without a win for them. They're 15th. They're in big trouble, and perhaps they need to pick John Bostock, who's not getting a look in these days. Our Englishman, he's stuck on the substitutes bench. But Dave or Robbie, either of you can come in here. Lyon, they're in good form. Moussa Dembele looked excellent yesterday. They've got a very big game coming up. They've got Strasbourg this weekend, and then they go to the Nou Camp. Now, they held Barcelona to a 0-0 draw. Do they have a chance against the Catalans?
Yes, they do have a chance.
Absolutely.
Of course, they're not favourites. Everyone will expect Barcelona to get through, but look at the way City played against Manchester City in both matches. Look at the way they played against Paris Saint-Germain. They are capable of producing a big performance on the night. They did ride their luck a lot in the goalless draw. I was fortunate enough or unfortunate enough to be sitting alongside Matt for that game. And he kept telling me, they're getting in behind and Ndombele and Aouar, they're going to score, Barcelona are going to score. Lopez had a very good game that night, but it was ter Stegen who still made the best save when he tipped Terrier's shot onto the crossbar. So they've got the chance of scoring a goal. And if they do that and get Barcelona worried, then why not? I don't expect them to go through, but I do expect them to play well.
I think the thing is, everything has to go your way for a side like Lyon. There's no doubting the talent of Ndombele and Aouar, but are they defensive enough in a game like that where you're going to have to defend at the Camp Nou? Is there a place now for Luka Touzard to come into the side and just try and shore things up? And then are you going to have chances with the Terrier, with the pace, and Cornet perhaps, a Bertrand Traoré? Memphis can create something out of nothing because he's a player that has that little bit of talent, and the fact that he scored last weekend I think is great as well for his confidence to come back. They will create chances. I think they have to shore up at the back. They have a very
and one of
good
Dembele's best ever goals was against Barcelona. That was when he was playing for Celtic.
No, I think they're a chance. They will have chances to score. After that, whether it's only 1 or 2, if you take one of them, if you have something to defend, you can do it. You can try and frustrate this Barcelona side as well. Yeah,
I was at the game with Dave. I was trying to watch the game, the Lyon-Barcelona game, and Dave just kept giving me stat after stat, and I was drowning in stats. At one point, I got away from Dave, and I managed to talk to Emmanuel Petit, who is a friend of David's, actually. And Emmanuel Petit said, listen, this was before the game, he said, I can't tell you what's going to happen. It all depends on Messi. Is Messi going to be in the mood? Is he not going to be in the mood? That's all that matters. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because when you talk about Dembele, Depay, whatever, if Messi wants to just run the show, then, Lyon, they probably can't live with him.
Probably not. But they can live with Luis Suarez. I was surprised and shocked by the decline in Luis Suarez physically. He's just not the player he was a couple of years ago. And he was pretty easily contained, I thought. Dembele, the former Rennes player, had a decent start to the match before fading. They did a bit more when Coutinho came on. But if Messi does turn it on and he's got his shooting boots, which he didn't in Lyon, then Barcelona should go through.
Going back just to our original question regarding Lyon, Bruno Genesio. I mean, it's looking like Ian Holyman will get a deal, our producer, for next season. Bruno Genesio is much more uncertain. Is his future dependent on doing something against Barcelona, or finishing in the top 2, or winning the Coupe de France? I mean, if they don't win a trophy and they finish 3rd, just to let our listeners know, in case they don't know, he's out of contract this summer, and the president, Jean-Michel Aulas, has made it clear that he's not yet decided, basically. He hasn't decided whether to give him...
He did put a deadline on this at the end of March, but I think this could be a bit like the Brexit deadline. It's just going to get postponed, because you say, is the future contingent on doing well against Barcelona? Well, we'll have that result in by the end of March, but we won't know whether they're going to win the Coupe de France. We won't know whether they've got automatic Champions League qualification. So does Aulas want to get himself into a situation that PSG found themselves in with Laurent Blanc when he signed a contract, and then they still dismissed him in the summer because the objectives hadn't been met? So I wouldn't be at all surprised if Aulas pushed this deadline a bit further back. We know that Genesio has now got a link with the Israeli agent Pini Zahavi, so he's preparing himself in the event that he goes onto the market. And the way he's developed young players, I can see that being attractive to clubs elsewhere. I suspect that Genesio will still be there next season.
I don't think it looks good for Bruno Genesio at the moment. I think if what we're talking about here is it all depends on the result against Barcelona, on the result in the Coupe de France, on finishing in the top 2 or 3 places. Then it's not the way you choose a coach for a side. You choose the coach for developing talent coming through, for the playing style, because that has always been the major criticism of Genesio, is that the team is not playing as well as it should with this quality of player. I think the bottom line is that if the stalling is happening, if the job hasn't been signed on for next year, it means that they're not happy with what's going on, aside from the results, the way he's coaching this side. And just to highlight the difference between the Bruno Genesio decision and Brexit, if Jean-Michel Aulas does continue to stall, or let's say he does decide to get rid of Bruno Genesio, we can at least still stay in France. Exactly. So I think it's important to stress that. We're going to finish the show with a lovely little segment that we'll bring you every week. It's called Bon Voyage. We're going to take you, because we are still allowed to stay in France. We're still allowed to travel on the TGVs. We're going to hop on a train now, and we're going to look ahead to next weekend's fixtures. And the guys on the pod are going to tell me which game they would like to go to and why. David?
I'm going to go to Strasbourg, or Strasbourg, or Strasbourg, depending on how you want to pronounce it.
I'll go with
Strasbourg for my travels, but maybe when I'm talking about the game, I'll talk about them as Strasbourg. It's a terrific stadium, La Meno. They make so much noise there, and they're just excited about being back in Ligue 1, given all the problems that they have, the way they've had to rise again from nothing. All right, they're not on the best run at the moment, but they're still in healthy upper mid-table. They're not playing the best football at the moment, but Saturday is a big game. Saturday afternoon in Strasbourg. Go and have a tarte flambe before the game. Have a couple of the local beers, and you'll have a great time.
They're playing Lyon. Did you? You might have said that, but I'm glad you mentioned the cuisine, because I know it's all about sausages and beer with you, Dave. But
the tarte flambe is a sort of Alsatian version of pizza, but don't tell them that.
I can't believe how thin Arsene Wenger is, having grown up not only outside Strasbourg, but in a pub, because that's where his parents run this pub. I mean, he must have an incredible digestive system, or whatever it is that makes you thin. Robbie, I'm going off topic. Where would you like to go this weekend?
Well, I'm not going to go to Toulouse, even though they have a great sausage tradition as well for Toulouse versus Guingamp. I would go to Saint-Etienne. Saint-Etienne versus Lille, not only because it's 2nd versus 5th, and a very important match probably for European qualification for both sides. The atmosphere is always superb at the Stade Geoffroy Guichard. It's not nicknamed the Cauldron for nothing. It's Christophe Galtier returning there, and he was there for a long time, a bit of a legend at the start. I think the fans started to get a little bit frustrated with Christophe Galtier at the end. I don't think there'll be a huge ovation, a homage for him returning there, but I'm sure he'll be looking to get the result there. And the atmosphere for these big matches, when there's something at stake, is always superb. Between the Magic fans, the Green Angels, their supporters, old-fashioned European-style ultras who don't mind making their point, pushing the laws of supporterism to the very, very limit, sometimes just stepping over. They've had so many sanctions from the league this season and last season, not allowing them to travel away. Stands shut because of their carry-on. But when they put it all together for a big night like this, no better place in France to watch football.
The laws of supporterism. I like that. I like that phrase. And they are going to be pushed to the limits in Marseille as well. I'm delighted that neither of you went for Marseille, because for me, that is an obvious choice. I'm going to head down to the Orange Velodrome to see Mario Balotelli playing against his former team at Nice. Partly because the Velodrome is a sensational stadium, and when Marseille are winning and that place is packed, I think there's no better place to be. Even though Robbie says there's no better place to be than Saint-Etienne, I think Marseille is a better place.
and it is the Derby du Sud, the Derby of the South. There is a genuine rivalry between Marseille and Nice, much more so than between Marseille and Monaco, for example. So the atmosphere will be fiery, and what a place, what a city, what a region. My two children have their grandparents down there, and last week they were down there and they were swimming in the sea in February. It was beautiful weather. So I'm going to go down there. I'm going to have a dip in the sea, and I'm going to take in.
Put hairs in your chest.
I'm going to take in Marseille Nice. That concludes our inaugural podcast, Le Beau Jeu, which, just in case any of you are still wondering, means the beautiful game. It is our brand new podcast. We hope you have enjoyed it. We will be back with another episode next week from David Crossan, Robbie Thompson, and myself, Matt Spiro. It's time to say au revoir et à bientôt.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
An absolute